Hello, I'm Debbie Russ with the BBC News. A lawyer for Donald Trump says an agreement has been reached for the former US president not to be handcuffed when he surrenders to face charges next week. Joe Tacopina said Mr. Trump would fight the case vigorously. Neda Tawfik reports.
Donald Trump's legal team say he will not resist arrest, but neither will he be put in handcuffs. They expect him to appear in court in New York on Tuesday. Mr. Trump today began attacking the judge assigned to his case. Republicans, including the U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, have accused the Manhattan District Attorney of weaponizing the criminal justice system to influence next year's presidential election. In response, the DA, Alvin Bragg, said the charges had been brought by citizens of New York doing their civic duty, and neither the former president nor Congress could interfere with proceedings.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has led ceremonies in the town of Bucha to mark the first anniversary of its liberation from occupying Russian troops. The names of Ukrainians who were killed were read out. Danny Eberhardt reports.
Sich Oleg Petrovich.
A year ago, Bucha was retaken by Ukrainian forces after an occupation that lasted 33 days. Images of what they found shocked the world. The bodies of civilians, some with their wrists tied, gunned down on the street. Further evidence of extrajudicial executions and torture emerged from cellars and mass graves, as well as accounts of rape from traumatized citizens.
Ugandan troops have taken up peacekeeping duties in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo as part of the East African Community Regional Force. They'll protect civilians and oversee the withdrawal of the M23 rebels from an area they've occupied since last June. The 2,000-strong force will also oversee the reopening of trade routes between the border town of Bunagana and the regional capital, Goma. Police in the Pakistani city of Karachi say at least 11 people have died in a stampede as residents flocked to a food distribution centre during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. 6 women and 3 children were among the dead. Ambarasan Etirajan reports.
Scores of people had gathered to collect free food at a factory in the Pakistani city of Karachi. Eyewitnesses said several people fell into a canal during the crash. The distribution was part of a charity drive. 6 people have been injured. A police officer said they did not get prior information about the event. An investigation has been launched. Earlier this week, 5 people were killed and dozens injured in stampedes at sites distributing free wheat flour under a government-backed scheme to help people from low-income groups. Millions of low-income families have joined the food distribution scheme due to the soaring cost of living.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. Huawei says its profits fell by more than 2/3 last year as the company was hit by US sanctions and China's COVID restrictions. The firm said a challenging external environment was taking a toll on their operations with supply chain issues, rising commodity prices and a slump in demand, causing problems for all major tech firms. A parole board in South Africa has denied the convicted murderer and Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius an early release from prison. The Department of Correctional Services said he'd not completed the minimum detention period required for parole. The organisers of the Wimbledon Tennis Championships have lifted a ban on Russian and Belarusian players. It had been imposed last year in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the support provided by Belarus. Andy Swiss reports.
It was, according to Wimbledon's organisers, an incredibly difficult decision, but they confirmed Russian and Belarusian players can compete as neutrals, providing they don't express support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine or receive any state funding or sponsorship. Wimbledon had been the only one of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments to ban players from the 2 countries, and those players can also compete again in other British tournaments this summer, including Queen's and Eastbourne. The Lawn Tennis Association were heavily fined for imposing their ban last year and said had they continued with it, they might have been expelled from the Global Tennis Tour. But they say there'll be a zero-tolerance approach to any pro-Russia flags or gestures from either players or spectators.
A judge in Latvia has defended the hefty fine he imposed on a man who deliberately crushed the eggs of a protected bird species. The penalty of €50,000 was imposed on Artis Krumins for destroying 10 eggs in the nests of black-headed gulls. His lawyers protested that they were effectively being priced higher than pure gold. BBC News.